Yeah, we back. Yeah, we back. Now, today we're going to be talking about white women. Yeah, we're going to be talking about white women. Now, as you all know, Donald Trump elected next president of the United States. Now, of course, we got the results, we got the demographics, and many people, as they always are, they're very surprised at the large amount of white women that come out and vote red. They were surprised at the amount of white women that came out and voted Trump. Take a look up on the screen. This lady said, white women overwhelmingly vote against their own interests as women because their commitment to racism supersedes anything else. Now, we're going to dive in deep on this topic, and I think it's way more complex than people can really grasp or understand. But like I said, it's very simple and basic at the core of the human experience. And at the end of this video, I think you'll understand that this behavior that you see by white women is not unique to white women, and it's not unique to any woman, to be honest, but we're going to dive into that. But anyways, so the lady Sunny from The View, the TV show The View, she also went in on white women. And she also made a statement that reinforced what I said in my last video when I said that the reason why a lot of individuals are upset at a Trump victory is because it destroys the image of what they believe America to be in their mind, right? They have dreams of integration and assimilation and white acceptance, and that image can no longer be upheld. That illusion can no longer be upheld when somebody like Donald Trump is in power. So I'm gonna run the footage and I'm gonna come in and out my commentary. Let's go.
I was so hopeful that a mixed race woman married to a Jewish guy could be elected president of this country. And I think that it had nothing to do with policy. I think this was a referendum of cultural resentment in this country.
Now, listen, I don't even got to provide any commentary on that. I already did an expert psychoanalysis on my last video entitled The Reason Why Black People Are Upset at a Donald Trump Victory. Now, let's continue.
Well, I want to dig further into the demographics because black women tried to save this country. Again, last night, 92% of black women voted for the vice president. You have Latinas in the 70 percentile voting for the vice president. What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story, were not the story here, because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right.
So why do you think that uneducated white women voted against their reproductive health freedoms, and why do you think...
Now, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. First things first, what Sunny doesn't understand is that you are a product of Western civilization and Western education. And women who are socialized in Western civilization tend to look at the world through a gender-first lens. So I understand why you are surprised when you see white women consistently show out heavy and vote red. And I've been sitting back and I've been watching on social media, and it's a lot of people that say that white women are voting against their reproductive rights. They're voting against gender equality, right? Some say that they're even voting for their own self-imposed oppression. But for those of us who are students of history, we understand that this behavior is not unique to white women, and it follows a pattern that we have seen throughout the ages, throughout time and culture. Women have always stood in solidarity with the men of their nation, with the men of their culture, and this has been the norm across the world for as long as documented history, until very, very recently, where a small section of the world called Western civilization socialized their women to look at the world through a gender-first lens instead of a nation-first lens or a culture-first lens. When you examine history, women's loyalty has always been tied to their community or their cultural identity, not gender politics, and definitely not in the gender politics that we see today. And it goes beyond race, right? Even when you look at ancient Africa, when you had two rival kingdoms at war, the women in those societies, they were not going to cross enemy lines to stand in solidarity and stand in sisterhood with the women of the enemy nation. That wasn't going down. Going back to the example that I used about two ancient rival African kingdoms. Let's say that there were two factions or two kingdoms at war. Let's call them Kingdom A and Kingdom B. What do you think would be the mentality of the women living in Kingdom A, for example, right? Would it be standing in solidarity with the women of Kingdom B, or would it be cooking meals to make sure that the men are strong and ready for battle, right? Producing herbs and medicines in case they get injured or wounded on the battlefield, so they could come back and, you know, get right and go back and conquer and bring the money back, you know? The women are equally invested in the success of the expedition, because if their men are victorious, then that means prosperity for the family, prosperity for the community, prosperity and glory for the nation. And then when you go to Kingdom B, it's the same thing, right? The women over there, they equally want their men to be victorious over Kingdom A. Their loyalty is to the culture. Their loyalty is to the nation. Their loyalty is to their identity. Their loyalty is to their sovereignty. Their loyalty is to their ancestors. And that has been the mentality of women throughout documented history. The best way to simplify this and explain it is to think about the mindset of the women on both sides of the Haitian Revolution, right? Take, for example, the French women living in luxury on the colony, enjoying the amenities of the French colonial project, enjoying the luxuries of the French colonial regime, all of which was made possible due to the profits made from slavery. The French woman gets to wear nice clothes, eat nice meals, overall live a very privileged lifestyle under the Caribbean sun, right? Do you think the French women ever stopped in their 250 year time on the colony to ever stop and be like, man, I got to stand in solidarity with the black woman. The black woman over there getting beat, the black woman over there getting her hand chopped off, the black woman over there getting killed. I'm over here, eating steak. Do you think the French woman was trying to stand in solidarity with the black woman, or do you think she was trying to maintain the luxuries and comfort that was afforded to her by the French colonial project? What do you think was more important, female solidarity or maintaining the supremacy of French culture? Obviously, the answer is easy because her economic prosperity is directly tied to the colonial system. And it's not something that the women of that time were shy about. No, the women back in those times, they were proud of their culture. French women were proud to be French. In the same way, you go to the ancient kingdom of the Congo, the women were proud to be of that nation. In the same way, you could take a trip to the ancient kingdom of Mali, the women were proud to be of that nation because that is how they were socialized. In the same way that you see that they look at the world through a gender first lens in the modern day because that is how they were socialized. Everybody's a product of their environment. Now, going back to the mindset of the women during the colonial period, what do you think the mindset would have been of the Haitian women living during that time, right? Most likely born into bondage, most likely seen countless people die. Do you think a woman like this is going to be standing in solidarity with the French woman or any other woman? No, she's going to stand in solidarity with the men that she suffered with on the colony. And if she's going to stand in solidarity with another group of women, it's most likely going to be a group of women who share a similar experience. Most likely other women who understand what it's like to liberate yourself from the chains of slavery, or other women currently suffering under the yoke of slavery. That would have been the mindset of a black woman living under the colonial regime during that time. In the same way that European women would feel more solidarity amongst each other, a British woman would feel more solidarity or feel more commonalities with a French woman or a Dutch woman or a woman from Belgium more than she would a black woman who might have came through the Middle Passage or was born into bondage on the colony. So obviously we can even see during that time, the French woman was standing in solidarity with the French man in opposition to the black woman, in the same way that the black woman was standing in solidarity with the black man in opposition to the French woman. It wasn't no solidarity during that time, baby. It was war. You feel me? So I think we have to take that into account when we discuss the topic, such as why some of y'all get so surprised that white women tend to vote red, tend to stand in solidarity with their men. It's because you were not socialized in the way that the ancient women were socialized, right? So the white women that vote red, they're simply just following their ancient programming. And obviously, I'm not surprised that white women would be invested in upholding, so-called white supremacy, as they call it, because they were right there, right alongside their men, establishing white supremacy. And not only were they right alongside their men, but they was right there raising each generation of white supremacists. So when you look at every white supremacist throughout history, understand that it was a white woman that was changing his diapers. It was a white woman that taught him his ABCs. It was a white woman that, potty trained him. It was a white woman that fed him and clothed him and bathed him. In the same way, when you look at every legendary black man throughout history, it was a black woman that raised them and bathed them and clothed them. It was a black woman right there. So like I said, the women have been right alongside their men all throughout history, man. In fact, one of my favorite stories is actually about an ancient Southern African king in modern day Zimbabwe. And the legend has it that when he would go into battle and he would vanquish his enemies, right? He would vanquish, the enemy chiefs, the other black men in the region, right? He would decapitate them and he would bring their skull back to his mother, right? Because his mother was a high-ranking dignitary in the kingdom, right? So he would bring the skull back of the defeated enemy to his mother, and his mother would collect the skulls of the defeated chiefs, right? So like I said, the women have always been right there. The woman was right there. So now I'm going to play some footage of a white woman actually discussing the history of white women during the colonial period. And I think it's rather interesting. So run the footage. I'll be right back.
When I was in graduate school, I learned that white women didn't own property, were not allowed to own property. But in fact, the historian Stephanie Jones Rogers, in her recent book from 2019, They Were Her Property, documents through historical records how white women actually were slave owners, often because their father had died and bequeathed enslaved people to them, or they married a man who had enslaved people and they were co-owners with him. And part of what she documents from the narration of formerly enslaved people is that the white women who were slave owners were especially cruel in their treatment of their enslaved property. And part of the reason that she speculates this is that there was a kind of desire to prove their worth, right, as a worthy slave owner. And it was also a way that white women gained a kind of modicum of power in sort of brokering their leverage over enslaved people to pursue a more wealthy husband or to gain more power in the relationship. One reviewer of this work referred to the kind of treatment that white women exerted on their enslaved people as a kind of imaginative sadism. And that's a phrase that really struck with me because it's something that I recognized in my own family.
Now listen, I'm a black man, so I can only tell you the history of the black woman, but I'm gonna let the white man tell you the history on his women. Because he was right there, I wasn't there. I was with the black woman minding my business. So I'm gonna let the white man have a microphone and he gonna talk about his woman. Run the footage.
Just to refresh your memory, the woke movement was supposed to be about people of color, not getting opportunities, the at-bats that they deserved. And it was about that for about 8 seconds. And then somehow, white women swung their Gucci-booted feet over the fence of oppression and stuck themselves at the front of the line. I don't know how they did it. I've never heard so much complaining in my life from white women. My life is so hard with my SUV and my heated seats. You have no idea what it's like to be me. Trash and white guys, the nerve. Where's the camera? The nerve of you white women. Listen, I don't want to speak ill of my bitches here, okay? I don't. Well, let's go back in history here, okay? You guys stood by us toxic white males through centuries of our crimes against humanity. You rolled around in the blood money, and occasionally when you wanted to sneak off and hook up with a black dude, if you got caught, you said it wasn't consensual. Yeah, that's what you did. That's what you did. So why don't you shut up, sit down next to me, and take your talking to.
Now, listen. The white man told you himself, right? The white man told you himself, right? So listen, white women, stop acting like you so oppressed. Stop acting like you under the boot of the patriarchy. And black women too, stop talking about, oh, the black man, this and that, because guess what? Just like the white woman, you was right there. You was right there alongside the black man. Even when the black man mobilized for war and invaded enemy kingdoms and committed atrocities and crimes against humanity, guess what? You was right there with the black man enjoying the wealth and the profits. You was right there with the black man enjoying the luxuries and the prestige. And guess what? Your female ancestors didn't give a fuck about the women on the other side. That's just how it is, man. That's just how it was. Now, anyways, man, it's your boy Neferkari. That's the lady back in the Billy. Yes, indeed. Cash app in the description. Support the channel, man. Support the album. Peace. They gonna be talking and tweeting about us. Stay to myself, I don't be around them. So introverted, I'm in the mountains. Making these hits and I'm money count. Wake up each morning, I'm feeling power. I'ma get money and make a shower. Shorty a diamond, she went to Howard. When I'm up in the booth, I got superpowers. Do it myself and I'm feeling major. Don't hit me back when you need a favor. Back on my business like fuck a hater. Started my business like fuck a label. Work for myself and I'm never changing. Step in the game and I rearrange it. Chosen a call, I gotta take it. Put that shit on my life, we gotta make it. I done been here before, I've been at the top. Been at the bottom, I've been having knots. Heart of a king like I'm up in Kemet. You talking about queens, I got me a lot. Energy angel came out of Nubia. Tell the invaders they better get props. Hop on the track, a nigga be schooling them. Now they be watching to see what I got. I'ma go call me a mansion. Apology given cause I'm breaking hearts. I know I'm too different to manage. She want my commitment, she want me involved, but I ain't conforming to standards. I'm trying to get rich, my vision imperial with a polygamous fashion. I'm trying to be living so lavish. Original man, they call it primordial. Play with the team, they planning memorials. Blessed with the game, I'm giving tutorials. Pain in my heart, it's feeling precordial. Bet they gon' fuck with the vision. I might go start a religion, I might go start a division. Call it
gonna be linking with bosses up in the office, in the executive quarters. I might go hop in a belly, hop in the Rolls, chilling with somebody's daughter.